Hi, so welcome to another episode of Meet Me in My Corner. I'm Dr. K and I'm your host. So, this episode is all about finding a quality partner. So, to help me with having this conversation, I posed a question on my Instagram, which is at Meet Me in My Corner. So please make sure you follow it so that you can keep up with all the updates and also assist with these types of conversations. So the question that I posed was, what is the one quality you are looking for in a partner? And the most common answer that I received was one, kindness, followed by loyalty, then consistency, and then obviously this one would definitely come up, God-fearing. I then put up a poll to find out if people have felt that they've found their partner or not, and 50% said yes. So when I started dating, I was very shallow in the way I navigated that world. I had all these attributes that I put forward, and they were all physical, right? So I wanted a man that was good looking, had to be super clean, had to have pretty hands, pretty feet, big dick energy, had to have some sort of, like suaveness or, coolness to him. And also had to have a bit of money. Okay. And I kept meeting those men because they exist, right? They're not difficult to find, to be quite honest with you. And in every relationship or in every encounter, I found myself deeply disappointed. And it was because I found myself putting attributes that don't feed the soul before attributes that do. And I found myself with a lot of emotionally unavailable men. Also, there's something else that we need to speak about. Why are men the busiest specimens on this earth? I don't know any other creature on this earth that is as busy as a man, especially a man that doesn't like you. And I dated a lot of men that didn't like me. And I think I dated a lot of men that didn't like me because I didn't like myself. I had such low self-esteem, and finding myself with some of these men for me would be a confidence boost, but obviously it was short-lived, right? And when they would court me and all that stuff, I would think that they are the prize. And I was a gorgeous girl. I still am. But I just don't understand why I never saw myself as a prize. And besides the physical, I'm a good person. Honestly, I really am. And I'm glad that I've done enough work on myself to be able to admit that I am a good person, right? But anyway, I would see them as a prize, and I would work hard to keep them. And I just didn't get it. Like, they would work hard to get me, but I was doing the work to keep it. Yeah, that was tricky. So there's one relationship that was quite prominent and really set the tone for the rest of my other relationships following this person. So I met this person in my second year of varsity. I had started then medicine because I did a bridging course in the beginning, and then the next year I was accepted for medicine, and yeah. So I even had an opportunity to move out of home. So I had a whole lot of freedom because I was living in a flat, and girl, that freedom. With that freedom came this man, and he was so good looking. Oh my God, I was obsessed. Like, I would look at him, I'll be like, damn, this man is fine. And he was clean. I'm saying clean to his, oh my God, that man was clean. That man was too clean. And he had very pretty toes. I have a thing with toes. Please don't think it's like a freaky thing. It's not. I just like looking at them. And I think that if a man is wearing sandals, they just need to look cute, right? So he was just like tick, 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 ticking all my shallow boxes, right? And I need to be honest, the circumstance that we started getting with each other was not a good circumstance, and it was not conducive for any healthy relationship. But yeah, that was what 20-year-old me, and I was thinking that I got this in the bag. This guy's good looking, he's going to be mine at the end of the day, right? So yeah, I'm in this relationship with him. Can I even call it a relationship? It was a situationship, honestly. It just it just took over my life, and I just don't understand why. But yeah, I was in the situationship with him. It was very fun at first. Super spoiled by him. And then it got to a point where there was a disagreement, and he literally made me pay for that disagreement, even though he was in the wrong. Guys, I paid for my reaction to what he had done to me for a very long time. And what then happened is he made me feel as though the relationship not working out was because of me and not because he was trying to get with my friends. I know, embarrassing. Yes, that did happen, and I did allow it, and I did accept it. So now somehow I'm finding myself in this power dynamic where I'm trying to fight my way back to be with him, even though he did me dirty. Yeah. 20-year-old got the whole shame. Poor girl. Anyway, so yes, I find myself in that situation. And then we have this back and forth, and it's like on and off. And I then develop a very anxious attachment to him. Okay. So every time he'd come into my life, I would be like beaming, excited, whatever. And every time he would like ghost me or go cold on me, it would feel like the end of the world. I was super skinny, like super skinny. I did not look good. I did not look good. I was not eating well. My studies were really affected, completely affected. I failed an exam for chemistry, and I got into that exam with a distinction from my semester mark, right? But I failed it. And then I had to go to summer school. That was the worst. And also, it started to take a toll on my friendships. It actually ended those friendships, unfortunately. But yeah, he then ended up sleeping with a friend of mine. It was, oh my God, I know it sounds so bad. And, you know, even throughout that, I wanted to be with him so badly. So badly. I still thought he was the prize. And I just thought that all these girls and all these things that are happening are just hurdles. I just need to get through it. I'm going to get him in the end, and we're going to be super happy, and we're going to have the prettiest brown babies, and I'm going to live the best life ever. I don't know now why I thought that, but it was honestly a dream of mine. I remember there was even a time, and I'm glad God ignored me, where I prayed and I was like, God, please bring him back. I will do anything. I was sad. I was sad. So sad. Like when I look back, I feel so bad for Katlaho at that time. I was so sad. And I couldn't find happiness outside of this person. But the funniest thing is that even when I was with them, I was truly not happy. I only had moments. And so he would create moments where I'd be happy. And I used to tell this analogy to a friend of mine later on when I healed from the whole situation. And she finds it so funny that, sometimes dealing with him felt like he would invite me to a room and he'd do everything to lure me to this room. And I'd get in with all these big expectations and so happy and all these big feelings. And he would just walk out and leave me there. And it was like, but dude, you brought me here, and I'd be alone in that room with all these big feelings and so much confusion, right? So there was a point where we did stop. We stopped dating each other, or we stopped seeing each other, rather. Let me put it like that. We stopped seeing each other, and it was a long stint. It gave me an opportunity to meet somebody else, and I wish I didn't do that, though, because I was not emotionally ready at all. So I get into this relationship with this person, amazing human being, gorgeous man, beautiful heart, God-fearing, everything that you could ever want in a human being, I had found it. Oh my word. And obviously in the beginning, I was super happy, super excited, but I wasn't really authentic because my heart still wanted this other person. And one of my biggest regrets till this day is how I treated a good person when they didn't deserve to be treated that way. Yes, I was young. Yes, I was immature, but I still could have been more responsible with my behaviors, my actions, and my words. So as you can imagine, it did get to a point where I decided that this relationship was not working. I sabotaged it so that I could get back with the other person. My mom was completely enamored with this guy, the good guy, that is. And she was disappointed. She was sick to her stomach. She was so disgusted by me. I mean, it took a while for us to, mend our relationship as mother and daughter, because she just couldn't believe that I could do that to another human being. And also that I left such a good person, right? Even though she didn't really know the intricacies of, my relationship with the other person, but she was just like so shocked. Like, why? Why would you leave this good guy? Until this day, I don't have an answer for her. But the truth of the matter is, he wasn't the person for me, but he didn't deserve to go through that for me to find that out, right? Okay, cool. So then I go back to this guy, and as you know, it's the same recipe, just a different day. So obviously, I'm going to have the same outcome. And it was always just a toxic situation, right? So I go back, and I'm back through this journey of like fighting for him, and it's a battle, and oh my God, 1 minute he's available and the next he's unavailable, and he's available, unavailable. I'm being compared to other women. It just feels like, oh my God, we're just not getting it right. But I want to be with you so badly, and you make it seem like you want to be with me, but I can tell from your actions that you actually really hate me. There was a time that I looked at him in his eyes and I asked him, do you hate me? And he kept saying, no, I don't. But I'm like, you genuinely do. You have to. To treat me this way, you have to genuinely despise me. And also just the dealing with like his moods, how he'd one day be very hot and he'd be cold. And I'd be in his space and I just wouldn't know how to navigate that space. Oh, it was terrible. I remember the last time that I was with him, the very last day, when I decided that I will never do this to myself ever again. We had another break, obviously. We had another break, and then we found ourselves with each other again, and I was so happy and I was so excited, and I just couldn't wait. And he had just moved into a different place, so he invited me to come see it, and we spent, I think it was like 3 days or 2 days. But I remember the day before I had to go, he decided to take a call, and I could tell that call was from another girl. And it was in that moment when I was just sitting in his room, and he walked out, obviously, and I was just like, why am I doing this? Like, I will never be enough. Because even in this moment, it's not enough for him to show me a bit of respect. He could have waited another day, but he's not even willing to wait a day to have this conversation with this other person, to not, show me his other relationship. But I need to say, and I need to take responsibility for this. Every time I went back, I made him believe that I am willing to take his shit, and I'm willing to take the amount of disrespect he was willing to dish out, because I kept coming back. And I think that's why, even at that point, he was willing to do it so freely, But that was the very last time. And I never saw him again in that context, ever again. And I only blocked him months later, where he texted me, and I remember I got that big feeling, that big rush of, I'm so excited, I'm so happy, what is this? And then he went quiet. Then I was like, I just don't want to have that lack of control over my emotions anymore. And I blocked him off everything. Right. I did see him after that, and every time it would be a trigger. There was a time I saw him at his place of work, and I literally went home and I cried. I just wept. I was just so triggered from the whole thing. Even though it was like a year later, I had really genuinely moved on. Well, I thought I had moved on, but every time I saw him, it was still that trigger, right? So following from that, I then fell into this pattern where I thought that love should be something that you achieve, right? And that you need to work hard to convince the person to love you. And I kept finding myself with the same type of guy, And I would act shocked when things didn't work out, oh, what is this? What's going on? And I remember the last disappointment that I got before I met my partner and before I went into a place of solitude and celibacy was when I met someone that I really believed that, okay, this is definitely going to be the guy. And unfortunately, that was not the case at all. But you know what? We did share a bond that was honestly so beautiful and so pure. It's just that we were just not meant for each other. And that's why we then could, become friends years later. Okay. So after that disappointment and just like feeling like, God, I keep putting myself out there and I go out there with good intentions, but I'm just not met with the same amount of effort and with the same amount of love. I'm tired and I really want a companion. I felt very lonely in that time because, I studied medicine and medicine can be like quite taxing. You spend a lot of time doing it. And I also had side hustles. I was working as a bartender at some point. I was a makeup artist and so forth. So there were times where I felt really lonely, where I'd be in my flat all alone. And I just want like a different type of relationship compared to my friendships and a different type of companionship, And I was well within my right to want that. And my mom was also kind of putting on pressure on me. And she was like, you're getting older, like you need to meet your man. So it was just like this whole thing and, watching people get it right. And I just didn't understand, like, I do have pure intentions. But what I didn't realize then is that as much as I had pure intentions, I had very shallow reasons for dating. So as I said, I went through a time or a space where I just wanted to be alone and I wanted to be celibate. I didn't want anything to interfere with me introspecting and actually having that difficult conversation with myself of what do you actually really want, right? And I prayed to God and I said to him, God, you once gave me a gift. And that was that guy, the good guy. And I was not mature enough to accept the gift that you've given to me and the blessing. But I promise you, if you give me another chance, I will show you and I will prove to you that I've realized my worth and I will invest every good part of myself in that relationship. And lo and behold, he was working in the background. And obviously, I was tired of looking from men from my lens because I was just not getting it right. So I wanted to look for a person with his guidance. And then, I met my partner. And at first, the circumstances I met my partner in was similar to my previous relationships. So I went in there and I was like, I don't think this is going to work. But I'm glad that I voiced it immediately. And I immediately put up a guard and I set a precedent. And I also shared my wants and my desires up front. So previously, I would put the desires of my partners before mine. And because I used to see them as a prize, even though they would court me, which is so weird, but I would see them as a prize because I had such low self-esteem. I was thinking like, who would love me, And this guy loving me obviously, means that I need to do a lot to keep them, right? And they would set the tone of the relationships. But when I met my partner, I set the tone. And I said to him, listen, I want to be chosen. You're going to have to ask me out. And I want the big shebang. I want presents. I want balloons. I want you to ask me out. And I want you to be sure. I don't want you to do it just because you want to, get in my pants or anything like that. We're not going to do anything until I know for certain that you are sure and certain of me. Okay. And he just looked at me and like, yeah, dude, like I do really like you. And I'm like, no. I'm not going to find myself in a situation where I'm second guessing where I'm at with you. I want to know for certain that, you choose me. And then I will decide if I choose you. I was so proud of myself. And it's because I was also really scared because he did have the attributes that I did want previously, those shallow attributes: good looking, clean, pretty toes, nice hands, you know, yeah, other things. But he had the things that I really wanted. There was some difference in my other partners, and that's what I'll get into later. So yeah, he got to a point where he proved to me that, dude, I really am taking you seriously. I understand you have this past and you've had this experience, but I really want to be with you, you know. And he did ask me out and so forth, and we've been together for 6 years. Now, we have to talk about the qualities, right? So as I said before, I used to put physical attributes before anything. And actually, that's all I used to think about, right? A good conversation, all that stuff. But I never really used to talk about the human being. So these are the attributes that will remain. And these are the attributes that will, you know, maintain a relationship when everything else goes to shit, honestly, right? And the one attribute that I'm so grateful that God gave me in this man was kindness. Guys, kindness is a big deal. So I was so happy to see that a lot of the comments to that question box was kindness. Because I'm like, girls, you are good. Like, girls, you see, you are on point. If this is what you're valuing, then I promise you, you will find yourself in a good space. Unbeknownst to me, that was an important quality. And I mean, it's not as if I used to meet unkind men willingly, you know. It's just I would find out that they're very unkind in our interactions. And they're very cruel. And my man has shown me a different world and a beautiful world by him being so kind. So, so kind. That kindness has bared so much fruit, you know. He is supportive because he's so kind. Everything that I have, everything that I'm proud to have is half because of him, you know, or mostly because of him. I mean, the podcast coming together was because of him. He wears me as a badge of honor and not a trophy, okay? And what I mean is that he sees value in empowering me, and he knows that by doing so, it empowers him. He has so much pride in me, and it shows in everything that he does. I've never in a moment felt that my man does not want to see the best out of me. And I've never been in a space where I've second-guessed myself, where I've felt any bit of confusion in how he feels about me. And also, I have never felt that he is willing to put someone else above me. Never. Ever, ever. And I promise you that even if such a time comes, and God forbid it does, that we end things, I know I will never retract these statements because his actions have been bigger than his words. It's been so obvious to everyone. And even how people describe my person is that he's such a kind human being. And that has been such a wonderful thing to be introduced to. And you know, it was uncomfortable at first. And, you know, when you have had a pattern of toxicity, you will bring those up. It will come up to the surface in some ways, you know. And yes, there are times where I don't feel reassured. And it's not because he's done something. It's just because I am not used to being loved so in such a wholesome way and in such a truthful and authentic way. And I haven't been able to find so much security in a person like I have with my partner. We do have our hard moments. And there's times where I feel that we have both been irresponsible in our relationship. But there's never been a moment where I've doubted the love. And that has been such a big thing. And then secondly, the loyalty. Loyalty is a big thing to me. And he proved his loyalty not to me at first, but to people in his life, people that he holds dear. And when I saw that type of integrity in the way that he treats the people that he loves, I mean, he has this best friend and he will never tell me his secrets. And I'm like, oh, baby, come, let's just have a chat. He's like, no, that's just between me and him. Guys, that is such a turn on. I mean, I want them gozy, but it's such a turn on, that his loyalty goes that deep, that even though he puts me on this pedestal and I mean so much to him, his relationships with the people that were before me are still quite important, and he will value them and he will treat them as such, and he'll have integrity in how he treats them, right? And that brings me to my next one, consistency. Consistency. Consistency needs maturity, because it is backed by discipline. And discipline is something that, it takes time. We didn't have it all together in the beginning, but I promise you now, we're good. We're riding a good wave. And it's so beautiful 6 years on that I'm able to say so with so much certainty and, so much assurance that we're really going to go the long way. I remember there was a time, because we're now in the planning stages of our wedding, and I looked at him. I'm like, I'm having a lot of questions with myself because I'm so invested in this wedding. I'm starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable with how I'm behaving with this wedding. I don't know if I want the wedding or if I want the marriage. And then I'm like, how do you feel? Because we have those conversations and we're quite honest with each other in that. And it's like, dude, there is no question in mind for me that I want to marry you. That is the easy part for me. The difficult part is the wedding, because you want to see us go broke. But it was so nice. He said it so easily, so effortlessly. It was just like, it rolled off his tongue. Like, I know I definitely want to marry you. Like, there's no question in my mind that I want to marry you. I want to marry you. The wedding is the thing that is stressing me out. The wedding is the thing that I'm just asking myself, why do we have to do it in such a way? Why does it have to be so expensive? But that's a story for another day. And then also the patience. He's so patient with me and he shows me so much grace. I'm a very impatient person. I'm so lucky that I can be met with the amount of grace that he shows me. I think there are a lot of people that would pack up their bags and leave with the kind of crazy that I sometimes bring out. But I am a good person to him, and I know I'm a good woman to him, and I am deserving of this love. If there's one thing that, if there's one thing that I don't second guess, is that I'm worthy for this love. And this is just show you how healthy our relationship is and how healthy the attachment is. I know for certain that I do just as much as he does to make this work. And I know that I don't need to convince him. He is convinced and he should be convinced. And he doesn't need to convince me. He's done enough, And it's so good to be in a space where I am not questioning things like that. But most importantly, I am not questioning my worth. So girls, and this is for the girls and for the boys. Oh, for the boys too, babes, for the boys too, if you're listening, for the boys. You need to start to introspect. If you have been on a journey where you feel constantly let down, you need to start looking at things with honesty. If you are applying the same formula just with a different person, you're going to render the same outcome. And that's why you're going to constantly be disappointed. I would highly, highly suggest to take a moment to yourself, give yourself a break, and pray. If you believe in God, pray. If you don't believe in God, I don't know, meditate. Meditate on it, and ask yourself truly, what type of relationship do you want? We are so good in mapping out other things in our lives. We map out the type of careers that we want to have. We map out the type of life that we want to see ourselves in. And we tell ourselves, like, I want a good marriage or I want a good relationship. But we don't talk about what we want to see in those relationships and how we think that we can achieve such a relationship. And what are the qualities that our partner should have to help us have those qualities, you know. For some people, it takes therapy to get to that point. And for other people, it takes prayer, you know. And for others, it takes a lot of experimenting, but I promise you, you're going to tire. You're going to tire. And you don't need to get to the end of it, you know, as a tired version of yourself. You still want to have the zeal, and you still want to be energized in that relationship when you finally get it, because you will. You will. But you will only get there if you're honest with yourself and you truly start to put things that are truly important in the forefront. And hopefully that won't be physical things. I had this conversation with a friend of mine. She thought money could change things for her. And I told her, kindness is the one thing I promise you will change a lot for you. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed putting it together for you. I've enjoyed telling you the story. And I've enjoyed actually being this vulnerable with you. It's so rewarding. You guys are so great. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next episode. I'm sorry this couldn't be a video episode. I really wanted to put it out there. Certain things just weren't working out. But I didn't want that to be the reason why I didn't put this message out there. Because I think that there are some important themes or topics that could resonate with you and could hopefully assist you. Okay, bye. See you next week.